His friends describe 18-year-old Samuel Poss as a happy-go-lucky kid. The last time anyone saw the Perry teenager was at a house party Friday, October 14th, when he was hanging out with his friend, 17-year-old Dakota White.
No one deserves to be killed, murdered, and dumped like that.
Poss's body was discovered this past Thursday in the woods in Houston County. The autopsy shows he had been stabbed and strangled to death. The suspects, Poss's friend Dakota White on the left and 18-year-old Brandon Warren.
There's a lot of things in this case that are real weird, not what I call, per se, commonplace, common things.
Quite possibly the most disturbing evidence that investigators have found are the Facebook posts made by the suspects both before and after the murder. Before his body had been discovered, White, who uses the screen name T.G. Rilla, posted several news stories about the search for Poss. A couple weeks before the murder, his post read, "When you go to finally lay down and realize there is blood all over your pillow, LOL." Sometime last year, White wrote a Facebook post describing his desire to violently kill someone. And at the top of Brandon Warren's Facebook page, he writes about a cold, sad corpse.
Some of the stuff you see on these Facebook posts and pages, it's very disturbing.
There hasn't been a murder in the small town of Perry in almost a decade, and police say they don't have a motive in this case.
This young man, Sam, lost his life for merely nothing. I mean, for no reason whatsoever.
In an obituary for Samuel Poss, his family said he loved music, gaming, and tinkering with computers. Funeral services will be held tomorrow in Perry. Brenda.
All right, Ryan, thank you. Well, tomorrow also, the Ross Harris hot car death trial will resume in South Georgia. On Friday, we saw a video in court of the Cobb County father sobbing at a police station in the hours after his son had died in a hot SUV. Harris is charged with murder, accused of intentionally leaving his toddler son Cooper in that hot car to die.
When I looked to my right to change lanes, I had a couple months of them in the back. I thought I saw it, thought I was seeing things, and then I saw him, and then I lost it.
Now, tomorrow, we expect to hear detailed questioning of the lead detective in the case as the defense tries to prove that he allegedly had it out for Ross Harris from the start. You can count on 11 Alive for complete coverage of the trial. You can watch our live stream every day on 11alive.com starting at 8:30 in the morning. And then we break down the big moments in court on 11 Alive at 12:30. Oh, with 16 days yet to go before the election, a new national poll shows Hillary Clinton pulling ahead of Donald Trump now by double digits. But Clinton's team says that they are still not taking anything for granted while Donald Trump's campaign continues to attack. NBC's Jennifer Johnson has more.
Hillary Clinton in battleground North Carolina Sunday, where early voting has begun. And as of now, more Republicans are turning out. Clinton went after Donald Trump where he's hurting the most.
We've got to make sure women and girls are treated with dignity and respect in America.
A new national ABC News daily tracking poll shows the Democratic nominee now ahead of Trump 50 to 38%.
Let's go win!
But the Clinton campaign says it's taking nothing for granted. Running mate Tim Kaine was also in battleground states, Pennsylvania and Florida Sunday. Trump is staying on the offensive, attacking Clinton on issues like abortion.
According to the rules of Hillary, you can take the baby at 9 months.
And last night in Cleveland for not doing more as Secretary of State to stop ISIS.
When will she apologize for all of the people her decisions have gotten killed?
Despite dropping poll numbers, the head of the GOP says Trump will still win.
People in this country have had enough, and he's the change agent. When it comes down to risk in this country, Hillary's been tested, and she's failed. She is the risky candidate.
But Trump's sexual assault accusations have hurt him, even as he announced this weekend that he is going to sue his accusers after the election is over. Jennifer Johnson, NBC News, Washington.
Well, tomorrow marks the beginning of week 2 of early voting, and we've seen a large turnout right here in Metro Atlanta. Blaine Alexander breaks down what you'll need to know to cast your ballot.
Well, if week one is any indication, we can certainly expect a large turnout. Perhaps the biggest number came in Gwinnett County. This is video. This was the site in Lawrenceville last week at the Board of Elections office. Some people waiting hours to cast their ballots. But Gwinnett and other counties were already planning to open additional locations starting tomorrow. The first, Lenora Park Activity Room in Snellville, and the second, George Pierce Park Recreation Center in Swanee. Of course, you can also continue to vote at the Board of Elections office. Now, regardless of your county, it is important to remember if you want to cast your ballot early, don't just assume that your normal polling place has early voting. It's only available in certain locations. So to find the place closest to you, just go to the Secretary of State's website right here, type in your information, and then click Find Early Voting Locations. We've also got a link on 11alive.com along with much more information to help guide you to the polls.
All right, coming up, a deadly tour bus crash in Southern California. What investigators say led to this tragic accident?
Oh, mighty cold temperatures over the course of the weekend, the coldest temperatures we have seen since early April. So coming up, we'll talk about how low the temperatures will go as we head into this week and how long this dry weather is going to last.
In Southern California, a crash involving a tour bus and a semi-truck killed at least 13 people and injured dozens of others, some critically. NBC's Dan Scheneman has the latest.
First responders began to arrive at the scene on I-10 just after 5 a.m. local time. They found the front of the passenger bus smashed into a semi-truck trailer.
The speed of the bus was so significant that when it hit the back of the big rig, the trailer itself entered about 15 feet into the bus.
There were also victims, several dead, and more than 30 injured were transported to local hospitals.
It seemed as though most of the victims were unrestrained and therefore were flown through the air and ended up sustaining facial trauma.
Rescuers spent hours digging through the mangled metal in search of more victims.
In almost 35 years, I've never been to a crash where there's been 13 confirmed fatal accidents. So it's tough. It's tough for all of us.
The bus, operated by LA-based USA Holiday, was driven by one of the company's owners, who was among the fatalities. It was traveling from Red Earth Casino near Salton Sea en route to Los Angeles. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Dan Scheneman, NBC News.
Authorities in New Hampshire are searching for a teenager who they believe fell down a storm drain during heavy rain. A 16-year-old boy was reported missing after he didn't return home from a friend's house. Police found some of his personal items near an open storm drain, leading them to believe that he'd fallen in. Investigators are searching the sewer system and several nearby rivers. Well, take a look at this. Footage shows migrants on a rubber dinghy off the Libyan coast being rescued. The rescue was filmed by the Italian Coast Guard. It was one of 20 different operations over the weekend. In all, 5,700 migrants were rescued from dozens of small boats and rubber dinghies. Italian officials also recovered 14 bodies from these vessels, including a 25-year-old pregnant woman. Efforts continue in Iraq to retake Mosul from ISIS. A new offensive today concentrated on a town just northeast of the city near a military base where some 500 Turkish troops are training Sunni and Kurdish fighters for the Mosul offensive. The operation involves more than 25,000 Iraqi ground forces, which is supported by a U.S.-led coalition of both aircraft and advisors. An unmanned spacecraft loaded with more than 5,000 pounds of food, supplies, equipment, and science experiments made it to the International Space Station today. An orbital-owned rocket carried the capsule into space on Monday. That mission was crucial for the U.S. Space Agency after a rocket operated by SpaceX blew up and destroyed a $200 million Israeli communications satellite in September. The Orbital is now the only company that can fly for NASA, while SpaceX is right now temporarily grounded. Turning our attentions to the weather, a chilly weekend indeed. We are tracking warmer temperatures after the cold snap that we felt. Our meteorologist Samantha Moore here to give us the latest as she tracks it all for us. Sam?
Oh, yeah, a couple of very cold mornings. In fact, temperatures dropping all the way down to 44 degrees this morning. So definitely a cold start to our Sunday and our Saturday. Slowly we'll start to moderate, though. But boy, it was a very cold weekend. Rome, by the way, down to 35 degrees for for an overnight low, currently at 54 degrees. Notice the winds have definitely died down. That's good news in terms of making it feel colder as they blow. However, we cool off better in the overnight hours if the winds are light. We just cool off more effectively. Look how cold it felt here in Blairsville. Our storm tracker Scott Anna in Blairsville in Union County capturing an early morning sunrise, and it felt like it was below freezing, incredibly chilly temperatures up across North Georgia. So let's take a look at your weather headlines as we head into our Sunday night and the work week. This was the coldest morning since April 10th, to be specific. And we're going to continue to have some cool mornings, not as cold as this weekend, and we're definitely going to be warming it up during the afternoon. And unfortunately, our pattern is going to stay persistently dry. And boy, do we need the rain. Look at this on our almanac. We're 8 1/4 inches behind where we should be this time of year. So it is going to take many, many weeks of rain before we can even hope to put a dent in this drought. 76 was our high today. We managed to make it up 5 degrees above average after that cold morning low of 44 degrees. So above average for our high, below average for our low temperature for our morning low. So definitely was a very chilly start to our weekend, and it looks like as we head into the work week, temperatures going back up. So it's been a wild ride this past week with our record highs. We tied on Tuesday with 86. We had new records Wednesday and Thursday with a high of 88, and then we just dropped like a rock over the weekend, 20 degrees cooler for our high temperature, and it ended up being about a 40-degree plus difference between our afternoon highs midweek last week and our overnight low. So it was a bit of an awakening for many of us. And overnight tonight, as you get up tomorrow morning, we'll have those temperatures down in the low 50s once again, even some upper 40s in the suburbs. So you want to grab a jacket before you head out the door, but you'll be able to shed it pretty quickly because by noon we'll be up to 71 degrees and then warming into the mid to upper 70s throughout the afternoon. So very close to 80 as we head into the peak heating time of the day on our Monday afternoon. Still seeing the northwesterly winds for now, but we will see a wind shift the next 48 hours or so, and as that happens, we may see a little increase in the humidity. But for our Monday, high fire danger here with those northwesterly winds continuing here. And then once we head into our Tuesday, we should start to see just a little bit more of an easterly component. Notice overnight on our Tuesday night into Monday night into Tuesday morning, we see those winds shift out of the northeast, which will cool us down just a little bit. So temperatures won't get too out of control this week. We have a lot of 10s on our wasometer as we head into this week. Unfortunately, it is a dry pattern, not good for the drought, but it should be beautiful fall weather as we head into this week with those warm afternoons. Next chance for rain won't come till Thursday, and it is just a slight chance at best. Brenda?
All right, Samantha, thank you. Well, it was time to get on your bikes and ride through Midtown Atlanta this afternoon. The final Atlanta Streets Alive of this year closed down parts of Midtown and downtown. It was great weather for it. This is the 4th event from Atlanta Bicycle Coalition, which has closed down streets all across the city for cyclists and walkers and anyone else who wanted to join in. Today's event went through 2.5 miles of roadway in Midtown and downtown. Surrounding businesses and community organizations also took part with free activities. Meantime, thousands of runners took to the streets as well, bright and early this morning for the PNC Atlanta 10-mile and 5K. The Atlanta Track Club race featured the largest crowd in the event's history, with more than 5,000 runners. I'm thinking the great weather had something to do with that as well. The hilly course winds from Atlantic Station through West Midtown and Buckhead. Local nonprofits adopted miles throughout the course and created cheer zones, as they call them. Those nonprofits will receive up to $5,000 each from the Track Club to help improve health and fitness in the metro through walking and running. Well, still to come, Falcons wide receiver Julio Jones is not happy with the referees. You'll hear from him coming up next in sports.